We're recording. We're recording. Hello. All right. The Walnut Trestle-Style under window planting table. We are gonna get a better name for that, but here it is. A little how to set it up for Jacob Penn, and a little background on the build, and a review on what I did right, what I did wrong, what I'd change for next time, and a little bit more about Kira. So let's see, I wrote some notes. So background, this wood came from a barn, an old barn up in Smithville, Missouri that our family friend John Smedley owns. And we were rummaging around the hayloft in there, and I saw some gorgeous pieces of wood that are really covered up with dirt and grime and whatnot, chicken poop. And I asked him, I said, hey, can I take that back and use it for wood? He's like, yeah, of course, go for it. So this wood is, who knows how old it is. I mean, it could be 80 years old, but it's gorgeous underneath, the surface that has just been exposed to the elements. And I brought it back, milled it up, and turned out to be some really, really, really beautiful old walnut with some awesome figuring in it. So that's a little bit of the background of it. This was the first piece that I had help from the Kansas City Woodworkers Guild on. So I'm excited because I think it turned out a little more professional, at least in my mind, than any of the other pieces. So that's been a great help just in terms of being able to use their tools, get everything straight and lined up so that it can fit together really, really nicely. Background, what else? That's about it. I built one of these before, but it was not all walnut. So I kind of had a model to go off of. And I like the style, I do. I think I'd change a couple things here and there. But overall, I think the style looks really good. It's pretty sturdy. If I had to make it again, I'd try to make it sturdier, just for long-term use. I know Jacob wants it underneath a window, so the wall against it is going to help with some of that sway that we'll get to in a little bit. Need some coffee. It's right there. But yeah, overall, it looks really, really good. So the legs are finished with shellac, and the top is finished with a marine spar varnish, just because I knew that Jacob was going to be using it for putting plants on, which means moisture. So I wanted to protect the wood as much as I could, and I think I got a really nice smooth coating on top. Everything got a little rub down with some paste wax for a little added extra smooth and texture and sheen. So I think it looks really good. I mean, it's hard to, you just want to do the wood some justice. So yeah, goals of the project were, Jacob came to me and was like, hey, I want to build a table. Would love to support you in your art, so thank you very much, Penn. That's awesome. And he said, yeah, I just want a table to hold my plants that'll go underneath my window. I said, say no more, let's do it. So he really liked the Trestle-Style legs, and I think that would look really good for the skinny of a piece. So we went with it and kind of designed it a little bit together, and I told him it may take some time, but I'll get it to him. So it was nice that he had no time frame and I could just take my time with it. It's been a lot of patience learned on this. I thought I was going to have to strip off the whole finish that I'd wait to cure for 14 days, but I ended up kind of working with it and it worked back, so no big deal there. So let's get into the setup of it. The biggest goal was he lives in San Diego, and he's gonna have to build this himself, or construct it and put it together himself. So I'm gonna ship it flat. So the whole time I was like, how am I gonna, let him build it with just a Phillips head screwdriver? That kind of drove most of the design. I ended up using these threaded wood inserts on here. so that all he needs is a little machine bolt and a screw head and to put the pieces together, but you'll see that in a little bit more. And yeah, I think it should be fairly simple to put together. There's 3 different kinds of screws to put in, and essentially all you really need to know is there's an A and a B side. One leg is A, the other side is B, and then there's a stretcher that connects the two that runs parallel with the top of the board, just for added support and stability. So yeah, let's get to it. Let's see, so how I would build this. So I attached these, okay, just terminology first. I call these arms, I call these feet, and I call these legs. So when I refer to those, that's what I'm talking about. Arms would be up top, feet below on the ground, and the legs to connect the two. So I already attached these because it was just easier and it would still fit in the box that I planned to ship it in. And so what I would do first would just lay everything out. This will come with it, just your guide on the different hardware and where it goes. So what I would do first is assemble each leg. So I would assemble each leg. So like I said, there's an A and a B side. You can find the labeling on the joints right there. So this is called a half lap joint, and essentially it just connects right into each other. Now there's 2 different sides. One is shorter and one is longer. And the longer side will be for the feet, shorter arm will be for the arm. And that'll just connect right in there. It should be fairly obvious which way that it goes. You just connect the dots. And then you're gonna take, let's see, what are these? These are, I think they're 1 inch long. I don't know. They're machine bolts that fit. Now I would get them tight. You'll feel the resistance when it comes. Don't over tighten, don't go crazy on it. It'll hold together. You're essentially working all the way through that depth of the threaded insert, so it's gonna hold. Don't crank on it too much. It'll be fine. It'll be fine just by itself. So give it a good, nice tight squeeze, but don't over tighten, because you're gonna strip your screws just like I did. So so yeah, leg 1, leg 2. Just match A and B. All right, so you have your 2 legs now, like so. And so this stretcher is really gonna look just like that, and it's gonna come across and connect these 2 together. And so the stretcher is labeled, should be labeled. Oh boy. Yes. It's labeled on the inside of the joint. So there should be an A side and a corresponding B side. Might be a little hard. Oh, I screwed it up at one point, so there's some Sharpie mark out. Oh, an owl just flew out the window. Oh, that was cool. So yeah, just look for the actual number that you can read. There'll be a black smudge and then an actual letter. Okay, so A fits A, and these are just rabbited joints that go together, and they'll just fit pretty seamlessly. Now I would put it like so. Oh, also, you need to know which side's up and down. So the down side, there's 2 holes. 1, 2. And those are meant for the screws that come up from the underside. So that means they need to be on the bottom. So when you put your legs up, I would do a full mock-up before you start screwing. So have them set like this, and then just make sure that you're, they're not gonna stand for me, because they aren't connected. So that's side A. Yep, that's A. Cool. So yeah, just make sure the tiny hole is up, and then you should be good. Tiny hole up. Tiny hole up. Cool. And then screw away. So I'd flip it over. Yep. And then it's gonna fall out. Just turn it around so you can see you. And then, so I use these to do the feet. Stretcher to column is a longer, actually skinnier bolt. So it's a screw, it's not a bolt. Be specific. So yeah, same thing here. Don't over tighten, just get it in there. Once you feel resistance kind of let off. I reference like a front and a back of the table. I just screwed into the back, and so this is going to be your show side, the front side. So I would be the window in this scenario, and then this would be the room out here. It'll just look a little cleaner. That joint's a little off, but you know, hey, no big deal. So in the process of doing this, I put this together. I was really pleased with it, and then I found it very, very wobbly. And I said, that's not very good for a table that's holding plants and pots. So I had to come up with some way, some decorative way to stabilize it, and did some research, tried to figure it out. I came up with these 90 degree supports that I call them, and I cut out a fancy little curve. So those will just ride right along here. There is an A and B side. So you still have, this is labeled B up here, this is labeled A, B, and A. And then on the bottom, I also denote which way is the front. So, 2 wood screws, they'll come here and here, and here and here. So I would recommend doing the sides first while it's standing, lean it over, and then get it from the underside. I think it's this side. This side got a little out of hand. I actually broke off one of the screws that I put in there. So there's 2 different screw holes, and the correct one is the top one. That'll get you where you need to go. Just ignore the other hole. So I just usually start it with my hand, get it in there, and then come in with the screwdriver. Hold this up. I usually screw until I can see the head or the shaft come through, and then I line it up with the hole, and I push with my left hand as I screw in so that it remains flush when it's all said and done. And it'll bring it in nice and close. And don't overdo that. It doesn't need to be overworked at all. So yeah, I would screw until, get your line of sight so it runs along the length of this. And as you get there, you're gonna see the wood come down and meet it flush. And once it gets there, it's good. There's not necessarily a resistance that you'll feel like the other screws. So again, don't overdo it. They're just supports. They're there. If the screws are in the wood, it's gonna do its job. There's no need to keep going and feel like you haven't gotten there, because odds are you probably got there. So that's that, and it fixes my wobble, and that's huge. So that was a really cool kind of learning on the fly lesson, is what it is. So now you have your legs all put together. Can I borrow this, Kira? Can I borrow my wood? Huh? Oh, whoa. So, like we said before, there's a front and a back. The live edge is going to be in the front, and the, what do you even call that? The other edge is in the back. So, when you put that together, just know where your front's gonna go. I'm gonna do it like this. A, B, A, and B. Kind of fun. So this is actually gonna do a wah, and it's gonna come in like this. So there's 4 screws left, and there's 4 more things to screw. So I would just I'd do one side and then do the other. No big deal. Where it rests should be where the holes line up. Just starting by hand and then kind of see. Oh, another thing. So the holes that connect the arms to the legs here are sized a little large, and that's strategically to allow the wood to move in different climates. So wood's gonna swell, wood's gonna shrink depending on the seasons and depending on where you live. San Diego is gonna be pretty humid, so it's probably gonna swell quite a bit once it gets there and acclimates, because right now it's really, really dry here. So it's gonna wanna swell. And so where I connected it, that is, I oversized it to allow for that expansion and contraction. Hopefully it works. If it doesn't, let me know. But it should be able to move quite a bit because the arms are connected to the wood. The wood's gonna wanna go, and then those will be able to move quite a bit. So hopefully it works. All right, that's it. You can't see it. There she is. There she is. What's up, baby? All right. Well, that's pretty much it. I'm gonna take some pictures of it. And then I'll send it over to San Diego. This is exciting. It's the first one I've ever shipped. Hopefully it gets there, and shipping is not a lot of money. Estimated about $40, $50 shipping through the postal service. Don't use UPS, and it's like $130. But I need to talk about long-term care. That's good. This stuff is great. Finishing paste wax. Every hardware store is gonna have it. It's very good. I apply it with a little white Scotch-Brite pad. It's a very, very fine grit. It's also an alternative for 4/0 steel wool, 0000 steel wool. So it's very fine grit. It won't scratch anything. I just always keep this in here. It's just my paste wax pad. That gives it's maybe do it every year. It's nice. The marine spar varnish is going to repel water and UV light really well. And since it's not going to be exposed to like the outdoor elements, it should last for a significant amount of time. But sprucing it up, I would use paste wax. It's very good stuff. And just apply it very, very lightly, and go with the grain, to avoid putting any unnecessary marks in it, in lines. So that's easy. Long-term care. Don't kick it. That's a good one. You know, respect the table. It's gonna respect you. It's coming from a cool place, old hayloft barn. And so yeah, should be a good little table. It's still a little wobbly, but yeah, we'll get better next time. Call it Japanese style, where you know it's supposed to be wobbly. Yeah, super fun build. It was awesome. Tore my hair out, but you know, at the end of the day, I'm super proud of it. So right on. Catch you later.